So much to unpack from this testimony of Aisha Langford. Let's bring back in Rachel Kugel, criminal defense attorney, who is standing by. Rachel, let me first just get your reaction to her testimony. What stood out to you?
So I think she's very credible. I think she remains very composed, especially given, the emotion of the topic. She has a very good memory of a sequence of events, and she also states when she doesn't remember something, right, which I think adds to her credibility. Someone who's willing to say that they don't remember specific details of who spoke to whom first, whether an officer was there first. So I think she presents very credible, very calm, that her memory is clear. I think that her reactions jive and make sense with what we would expect someone to be feeling and experiencing. All that being said, right, I mean, her upset, her panic, her yelling and cussing him out, as she says, all of that makes total sense. She obviously didn't believe him from jump. All that being said, she doesn't add a ton in terms of actual evidence because she wasn't there for any of the parts where the alleged crime would have been committed. So, just to keep it in perspective, and again, to give that defense perspective, totally credible, totally makes sense, but what does she really add? I mean, she adds, I suppose, maybe his state of mind or his demeanor, but she doesn't really add actual facts as to what he did during that time period, what Breasia did. I mean, she just doesn't have a ton of information. And again, going back to the original point of why they selected bench, right, is because a judge, hopefully, I think the defense is hoping, can keep his eye on that, right, instead of being moved by, the emotion, which is obvious. So yeah, I think totally credible, but doesn't add a ton in terms of actual facts of what happened.
She's got that mother's instinct, right? Knowing immediately he's lying, whatever he's saying about her just vanishing couldn't be true. She does, I think, establish perhaps a timeline when she could say that at 8 he claimed he had been asleep, but the judge is going to learn, already knows, but will learn through this case, that he was up and moving around at around 7 a.m. and then there's this witness that can place him somewhere at 4:30 a.m. I do want to also ask you about Aisha, because she's drawn a lot of criticism on social media, the internet, for the decision to leave Breasia with Dinkins. He did have this background, but there's more to the story in the sense of she wanted him to spend time with his son, and when Dinkins showed up at her mother's house, which would have been Breasia's grandmother, he told the children, or one of them, that they could also come along. All of them wanted to go. He told the oldest brother he couldn't go, but told Breasia she could. What do you make of that decision, this criticism, the conversation about someone who's a registered sex offender, but the father of this little boy, being able to be involved in a child's life?
It's so painful because, obviously hindsight is 20/20. We know what the outcome was, and we know obviously that it wasn't good. To sort of punish her for the decision she made, at the time, in the moment, of course, I mean, you can imagine, right, wanting her brother and sister to have a relationship, hoping that you're trying to, I mean, you're sort of damned if you do and damned if you don't, right? If you keep them apart, then people will criticize you for that. If you allow them to build a relationship, brother and sister, then in this case, people criticize you for that. I mean, obviously this woman has been, far more punished than any social media can do. I'm sure she beats herself up about the decision every day in hindsight. Obviously this man was not supposed to be around children, and obviously that was for good reason.
Yeah, I even wonder if she knew for sure. Not everyone knows to look up people's background and see. This is a conviction for him back when he was 17 that he got on the registry. He was in his late 40s, early 50s at the time. Who knows? But tragic story all around. Rachel, thank you for your analysis. Stand by. Coming up next.